It is 14 minutes past 4, and it's that time of day on a Tuesday for Creation Ministries International. And this week, yes, we mentioned last week, Michael Cook will be back. Michael Cook from New Zealand, who's speaking to us from New Zealand. Good afternoon, Michael Cook.
Yes, good afternoon, Mick, and good afternoon, listeners again. As I was saying to Mick, I cannot believe that a week has gone past since we last spoke, but it's great to be back again, and trust it's all going well over your side of the Tasman. We had a great long weekend over here at King's birthday, and I spoke twice, 2 sessions at a youth camp about an hour's drive from here, and really good feedback and encouragement from young people, hundreds of them there, and it's really good to see young people hungry for God and hungry to know.
Did you have any questions that you hadn't heard before?
No, we pretty much had the same sort of questions, but they certainly went into some different tangents and so on, but generally the same ones that we have answered in our Creation Answers book, which is one of our popular little books. Answers 60 of the most asked questions, and most of the questions we get are answered in that book. So, but most of them were the same ones we had before: radiometric dating, and how can a good God allow bad things to happen, and what about the flood, dinosaurs on the ark, etc.
That's interesting you say that. That's 60 questions. Is that on your website?
It is. Yes, it's one of the books that we can get from our web store, but it's also available as a PDF on our website. So just search for the Creation Answers book on creation.com, and you'll find it there. It's a really good resource answering most of the most common questions we have.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be an absolute ripper, I think. Yeah. Now, of course, I've been peeking through the Creation Ministries website, which is creation.com, and looking, as we mentioned last week, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about artificial intelligence. And I love AI. I think it's sort of cool, but I know there's a lot of people that have major fear of AI. They're scared of AI and what it can do. And of course, there are some things to fear, I guess, when it comes to AI, aren't there?
Well, that's right. I mean, it's like all things, technology is neutral. And AI is one of them. So it can be used for incredible good or incredible evil. So it's like the internet itself, or money, even. It depends on what people apply the technology to. So yes, it has the potential to really revolutionise research and even Bible translation and other good things, but also has the ability to really deceive people, I guess, and maybe even potentially take certain jobs away, like in the creatives. We're seeing a lot of people who are writers and even actors and so on concerned about their futures, and that's valid. So yeah, it's a neutral tool, but it has immense power to change the way we do things.
Yeah, I've even read in recent times that there's been pastors overseas that have used AI to help write their sermons. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, well, certainly, obviously, you need to really hear from God about the word that He's saying. But these tools can be really good, maybe to make them more flow better with the grammar, or just to do a bit of extra embellishment around the outside, which provides a nice nuance. But you need to really just check and read and pray about it before you, I guess, preach pure AI content, because often the differences can be quite subtle. But yeah, it's certainly a tool. As long as it's used carefully, it can certainly enhance written and oral presentations and even artwork.
Yeah. And we were looking at an article, the AI Revolution, from the creation.com website. And it said, the AI Revolution, what does it mean for you? And I mean, that first sentence there, humans are not meat-based computers. No matter how good an AI program might be at churning out responses to questions, it'll never be emotionally involved with anything it does. That was interesting.
It is. That's right. And one of the things that people say that it's going to become sentient and take over, sort of the whole Terminator idea where it takes over and starts to destroy humans. That's, potentially possible in some way, but it will never become thinking and able to be like us and with our human sentience, and especially our spiritual component of being able to love and to feel and to plan and to have governance and so on. So all it's doing is just searching a lot of stuff very, very quickly, and it's just really outputting what it's already just gone through existing material. So it's not really creating lots of new stuff, it's deriving and rearranging information that already exists. So yeah, it's very, very powerful, very fast, but it's not intelligence in itself. It's just computers crunching ones and zeros.
One thing I've been concerned about with artificial intelligence is, and I know many people, when you have questions, when you have concerns, we can pray about it. We can go to God and we can wait on the Holy Spirit. And nowadays it's even easier to go to Google and ask Google instead.
That's right. And I think that can sometimes make us lazy, I guess. It's like, using a calculator or something rather than adding up things manually, which is fair enough. But yes, we often find we want the quick result and we just take it on at face value, don't think it through or pray it through. And especially for important things, it's really important just to hear from God again. So yes, AI can provide another vantage point, or maybe is good for research, but it needs to be very careful. We need to be very careful that this does not replace, especially our relationship with God. So you raise a really good point.
Yeah, with things like Gemini, which is Google sort of on steroids, you can literally converse with it. You can have a conversation. It can ask you questions, and you ask questions back. Now I know when you sort of get, I guess when you get right into your Christian life and you can pray, you can converse with God in different ways, and people do converse in different ways. We read in the Bible how people have communicated with God in different ways, but to go to Google, we're sort of accepting a worldly answer every time, aren't we?
We often are. I mean, occasionally I've used AI myself, and occasionally it actually gives some really good, because it's just looking through material, you end up with some pretty godly or good, biblically based sound answers. But you have to be careful, I guess. So yes, it is based on the overall material that's on the internet, which is by far mostly secular, which is not saying it's all invalid, but it is biased towards the secular and the naturalistic. So it's really going through the information that's been trained on. And so, yes, you have to be careful on how the angle it takes and how it interprets things. So that is a valid point.
I know I mentioned last week I ended up arguing with the AI Jesus because I thought, no, you're not giving me biblical answers here. It started giving me some pretty freaky answers. Can you tell us maybe what a large language model is?
Well, as you know, the internet is a vast repository of combined information, whether it's just straight out knowledge or whether it's creative works, writing, art, music, whatever. So it's just a vast pool of information. And large language models, these things go through looking through passages of text and reference books and scientific papers and even the Bible and Quran and the Vedas and religious books and everything. It's just looking through large amounts of text, and actually from that it learns patterns, how things are joined together, the meanings that come from them, and how they're related. And it just starts to learn ways to very, very quickly search through large amounts of information to find relevant sections of text or material or art or graphics that match the pattern that's been asked for. So they just have a huge pool of material to learn from, and as they go through and people accept the results, that reinforces certain things as being credible or useful, and they float to the top. So it is self-learning. It does improve over time, but there's always that aspect of potential for error, which I'll talk about in a minute, one of the things called AI hallucinations. But it is an issue that can be a problem. But overall, as things start to get affirmation that they're useful, that helps to reinforce the results that are returned.
I did notice in this article it said all AI programs have no true understanding of what they're doing. Now, I can only assume that is why they hallucinate.
Exactly, that's right. That says all they're doing is just very, very quickly searching, huge amounts of numbers, doing a lot of maths on it and returning a result. So they are there's no sense of understanding or intelligence really internally. We say artificial intelligence, but it's not really as we would know intelligence directly. It's just a very fast way of rearranging information to give us results that are useful. So it's in itself, it's not a thinking, sentient type thing. It's just a machine that's doing a lot of maths very quickly. That's a simplistic answer, but that's basically how it works.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, a hallucination is where they just, they give you an answer that's just completely wrong. It's just taken a tangent. And I know that I've asked, Gemini, Google Gemini, to to actually summarise a page of information from a news article, for instance. And a few times it's actually looked at an article, because I try to go through a lot of articles each day. It's looked at an article and then it's looked at an ad that's somewhere in between the article, and the ad has, I guess, in some way confused it, and it's just gone off on a tangent slightly related to the ad, but not really related to the real story. And then the whole remaining section is just a jumbled mess.
That is certainly an issue. And the other thing that's increasingly a problem they're really trying to work on is that AI, of course, once AI generates content, that effectively adds to what's on the internet as far as material. So other models can come along and learn from material, and they go, I found a new passage of text or something here, and they include that in their learning. But of course, it's been through AI, so it may be slightly skewed or slightly wrong. And so, but that then starts to be picked up by other models that believe it, and so you end up with this things moving towards an increasing amount of errors, which is something that is a major issue that they're working out. How do we like watermark every AI generated content saying this is AI generated, don't use it? There are many ideas they're looking at, but it is a major problem with mostly right stuff getting fed back and becoming less and less right over time.
Yeah. I guess, when students are, I actually had a piece last week talking about how I think it was 96% or so. It was a huge number of students in the United States had admitted to using AI. A large number have admitted to using AI without actually crediting any AI in their paper. And they're basically saying, they're using it to cheat. So, of course, people aren't going to, watermark it and say this is AI generated. Instead, they might try and rewrite it a little bit to make it look like it's actually personal. It came from somebody who had really researched, but in reality, it's come from, the research done by the AI. Now, admittedly, AI, there is AI out there that can do research for you. It will actually go out and look at a whole lot of different websites that are related to a certain topic, and it will then take pieces out of all of them, and it can actually, write down credits to all of them and that sort of thing. And you can use it properly for university or for just study or writing pieces. But it tends to take longer doing it the right way than the wrong way. And sadly, that's why we see a lot of wrong stuff, the hallucinations. And now if AI is learning from potentially previous hallucinations, where's it going to go from there?
That's right. How do you wind it back? That's right. So I think it's just a very, very fast search engine, I guess, is a very simplistic way to mention it. But of course, so as long as it goes through maybe referencing lots of different scientific papers and it ends up with a nice little article that it's written, and then it actually attributes everybody at the end with references and so on, that's all good. It's basically to speed up what you'd have to do manually. So there is use in doing that as long as the original author's accredited and there's no sense of plagiarism or passing it off as yourself. So there is a place where it has use like that. But it's the whole thing about filtering out what is original work as against synthesized work. That's the problem.
Yes, absolutely. Look, it is 28 minutes past 4. We're going to go into a song right now. This is Crowder and Toby Mac with a song called Dash. We'll be back with Michael Cook probably in about 6 or 7 minutes. You're on 94.9. If you have any questions for Michael, please send them through to our text line 0401 949 949. You're on 94.9. It is 22 minutes to 5. And we have Michael Cook on the line from New Zealand. He's with Creation Ministries International. We've been talking a bit about AI. And, it is, one of those topics that you could probably go forever on. But, Michael, tell us some of the positives of AI.
Okay, Mick, yes, as we're mentioning, there are some areas where I think AI has some real benefits, especially in things like medical diagnoses and other things like that, or maybe even searching for lost things out in the environment, where maybe a plane crash that's been lost for years, you get lost archaeological finds, and they'll have AI going through huge amounts of images, photos, satellite pictures, and it can search much more quickly than human observers can. So it'll actually look for patterns or for clues, and then experts can then look more closely. So I think that area will be a real blessing of life-saving, maybe for early diagnosis of cancers or other issues, and also all sorts of areas where research will be greatly aided by AI doing the hard work of searching large amounts very quickly.
Yeah. I can see there are, many areas they can, AI will be a huge advantage, particularly flying and driving. I mean, when it comes to processing all that information and being able to react quickly, it can do that. But as long as it's following a certain sort of set of rules, I guess, the more they talk about this sentient AI, of course, that freaks people out because they start thinking, where's it going to go? Is it going to change its mind halfway through? That's certainly one of the concerns. What about things like photographs and video? I mean, we can just type that we want a picture of something, or now you can actually type, a few sentences or a paragraph talking about a video that you'd like AI to create, and it can create it for you. Now, we've heard of, many images and videos being created of people that are living today. So, if we go back a few years, you could go to court with a photograph and say, this photo was taken of somebody doing the wrong thing, maybe from a security camera. We can't really do that anymore, can we?
No, you're certainly right. It's getting to that stage where, AI, I think to the trained eye, is still the artifacts and certain things where it's still not 100%. And so I think whether, I honestly don't know, so I'm not about as far as evidence in court and photos and so on, but certainly for the average person to have videos on YouTube or even on the news, footage of something happening, you could certainly have it put in a way that would cause people's ideas or thoughts or political biases or something to be changed because of disinformation, which is being faked. Even these deep fakes, talk about, sadly, even things like people being abused by images of them being faked to look like they're up to something that's not good or embarrassing.
Yep.
And so, it can be hugely harmful in the wrong hands. But I think as far as the legal side, I think it's still not good enough to ever pass in a court of law as being fake. But things are changing more and more quickly, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. Do you ever get questions at any of your talks about artificial intelligence?
That's interesting. Really, it's not something that is widely been asked for. Even this camp I went to in the weekend, there was no AI type questions. But I think the articles are good. So people are thinking more about it, and maybe we use AI often more and more each day without thinking about it. But people, I guess, are concerned in the background, but it seems to be something that's of interest and only of concern to some people in society at the moment. That may change.
Yeah. And your own personal feelings about AI?
Yes, well, I think it's a tool. I'm a software developer. I do software development for environmental monitoring, and some of the things we do has a AI thing, and I occasionally use AI, like Copilot and so on, Microsoft, to look things up or to come up with a bit of an example of a piece of code or something, which you use as a reference. So, I use it, and it's a useful tool. Again, as long as we check that things seem credible. But, I can see a lot of potential for it going wrong. But I also, as I mentioned too, just the environmental impact on the amount of AI processing in these server farms are now much more energy hungry than they were in the past. Storing videos and images, that takes so much power, but these are actively processing, which pushes the power consumption up a lot, and that's now another concern of infrastructure and generation and grid safety, having so many megawatts going into these server farms. So it's an interesting time.
Yeah. Now, I have read in recent news articles that, some of the AI experts, the guys that actually run these big AI corporations, have actually said if AI just keeps growing the way it's growing, that the world is going to run out of power.
Well, I guess it's certainly even knowledge and everything, even computing. There's different laws about processing power increasing, doubling, quadrupling, and we just see an explosion. Yes, it certainly is really, really ramping up. And so, it's starting to become a significant amount of power, especially for some countries where these places are actually quite large compared to the general populace, the home, heating homes and industry. They start to be quite a large component of that. So, it will be interesting to see what happens.
And also security. I know that Elon Musk has recently built his computer grok, and I was watching a video on that recently where they did a bit of a fly through this giant warehouse that has just computing power beyond anything you could possibly imagine. That's just racks and racks and racks and racks of servers, and just the power of computing power there is astronomical. And they're now saying that, with the power of the computing that they have and these AI agents, they're going to be able to crack all of our passwords and passcodes in not very long. Do you see that as a huge issue?
Well, there's another thing called quantum computing, which is another technology which is emerging. It's still largely in its infancy, but it means that even the most complex passwords and encryption could actually be broken fairly quickly. So, we can see these things as being an issue. But I think maybe the way we do passwords and security will change in time to keep ahead of these things.
Yeah.
But it's certainly the world is changing very rapidly.
Yeah, I hope we can change fast enough to stay ahead of it, because it'll certainly be an issue for all of us if we don't.
Exactly, but it's really, again, coming back to us as believers, though, isn't it? I guess we know that it's interesting. There's a prophecy in Daniel, as it says in the end times, that knowledge will increase greatly and people will run to and fro. And I think it's, again, we're not putting dates and times on things, but we see so many things happening in the world today that are almost unprecedented in all of history. And there's always been earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars and famines and so on, but there are things happening in our day and age that have never happened in all of history. And I think it's just the explosion of knowledge and the explosion of travel, isn't it? So, I just think that's interesting. I'm not saying it definitely matches up, but it's just an interesting prophecy that seems to point to our time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael Cook, we've come to the end of another week. Anything else to say about AI before we spin this one off?
No, thank you again, everyone. We've maybe talked a bit in a nerdy way about things, but please, if you're concerned or interested in AI, have a look at our website. That AI Revolution article is written by a young Kiwi guy. His author's name there is a pen name, but he's a very switched-on young man, and it's a really good article covering a whole range of aspects of AI, what it is, what it isn't, what it can do, and so on. So I really encourage you to look up AI Revolution on creation.com, and please dig in deep. We'd love to help you and bless you with our resources, and to help you on your walk with Jesus. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. We look forward to the next time you come back and have a chat with us.
Okay, and in closing, Mick, you were telling me that this weekend you've got your fundraiser, I think, so I really encourage you, your listeners out there, just to bless and to encourage and support this amazing station who out there faithfully preaching the Word of God and providing community news and so on. So it's a worthy cause. So during the fundraiser, dig deep and bless them as they're blessing you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Of course, that is the REMA Central Coast Mid-Year Appeal. You don't fight alone. If you can donate, just head to our website, rema.cc. All donations over $2 are fully tax deductible. You're on 94.9. It is 13 minutes to 5.